What happens when one of the strongest, most admired friendships in the world of K-pop begins to show cracks, subtle, quiet, but impossible to ignore? Fans everywhere are asking the same question tonight: is something shifting between Taehyung and Jungkook? And if so, why does it feel like the beginning of a chapter no one expected? In an industry built on flawless performances and carefully curated smiles, even the smallest change can ignite global speculation. Recently, all attention has turned to Kim Taehyung, V of BTS, whose behavior has stirred both worry and fascination. Once the effortless center of warmth and spontaneity, his presence now seems wrapped in a layer of mystery. His calm gaze appears more distant, his posts more cryptic, and his public appearances more restrained. The fandom can't help but wonder, is he struggling with something no one has fully seen? What raised the stakes even higher was Jungkook's unexpected reaction. Normally the picture of stability and loyalty, Jungkook suddenly stepped into the spotlight with a comment that sent shockwaves across social media. During a live broadcast, he quietly shared, "Sometimes people change because they're searching for something they lost." The statement was brief, philosophical, yet to fans, it felt like an emotional confession aimed at someone specific. Was he talking about Taehyung? And if so, what loss was he referring to? Rumors had already been brewing for weeks. Those close to Taehyung described him as unusually introspective, spending long hours alone in the studio working on music that reportedly sounded nothing like previous BTS material. Insiders whispered that he was exploring a completely new artistic direction, one that could redefine him entirely or pull him further away from what the world expects of V. But it wasn't Taehyung's distance alone that shook people. It was the contrast, Jungkook's sudden openness versus Taehyung's quiet retreat. At public events, the once effortless synergy between them seemed muted. The laughter, the glances, the subtle communication that always existed between them appeared replaced by a more formal, almost delicate distance. Not strained, but careful. As if they were each walking their own path, parallel but no longer overlapping. Analysts argue that this is part of a larger shift happening within BTS. With each member stepping into individual careers, the process of rediscovering personal identity becomes both liberating and heavy. For Taehyung, that journey seems deeply emotional. His upcoming projects, said to be raw, experimental, and far removed from mainstream K-pop, hint at a man pushing himself toward authenticity, even if that means stepping into uncharted territory. Meanwhile, Jungkook's rising global success comes with its own set of pressures. Those close to him say he has been quietly wrestling with expectations, not just as an artist, but as a friend. He reportedly fears losing the deep bond he built with Taehyung, yet also understands the need to respect boundaries. One insider put it simply, he doesn't want distance, but he doesn't want to interfere with Taehyung's growth either. Taehyung's silence, according to others, is not rooted in conflict. It is rooted in creation. His current retreat is a form of artistic immersion, stepping away from noise to hear himself clearly. His new work reportedly dives into themes of solitude, transformation, and emotional stillness. In that context, his withdrawal is not a sign of sadness, but of deep focus. Still, Jungkook's heartfelt statements gave everything a sense of urgency. Some fans praised him for showing emotional honesty. Others questioned if he unintentionally exposed Taehyung's personal struggles. Yet perhaps his intention was far simpler, to remind the world that even global icons fight private battles we may never fully understand. Taehyung's recent social media posts added fuel to the flame. He shared poetic lines about change, loneliness, and seasons of personal growth. Though beautifully vague, each message sparked concern and endless interpretive theories. Was he signaling a transformation? A new artistic identity? Or something more intimate? Public reactions grew intense. Analysts warned that any perceived rift could impact BTS's long-standing image of unity, a foundation that has always shaped their global connection with fans. But others argued that perhaps this new vulnerability is not a threat, but an evolution. Today's audience values authenticity over perfection, and what Taehyung and Jungkook are showing, intentionally or not, is the reality behind the polished image. During a recent appearance, Jungkook's subdued demeanor only deepened speculation. When someone asked about future collaborations, he answered softly, "We'll see. The future is full of surprises." A vague statement, but one heavy with meaning. Taehyung, meanwhile, was sighted at a private art exhibit, quiet and introspective, wearing dark glasses. Witnesses described him as gentle yet distant. Not unhappy, but contemplative. As if his mind was absorbed in something larger than the moment. Fans now believe Taehyung may be preparing for a major artistic leap, possibly a solo album unlike anything he's released before, darker, slower, more experimental. A project that requires emotional space and inner stillness. For Jungkook, whose creativity thrives on connection and energy, this difference in artistic style could naturally create distance, not out of conflict, but out of contrast. Producers familiar with both artists summed it up simply: Jungkook perfects through interaction. Taehyung frees himself through solitude. However, all of this speculation eventually collided with reality, one far less dramatic than imagined, yet far more revealing. Despite weeks of theories, there has never been any confirmation of tension between them. HYB quietly dismissed the rumors, insisting the two remain in close contact and supportive of each other's paths. Jungkook's much-quoted line about change was never directed at Taehyung, it was taken out of context. And Taehyung's so-called distance was simply the necessary retreat of an artist shaping new work. Those near him describe him not as troubled, but as more focused and centered than ever. So how did a handful of ambiguous moments spiral into a global narrative of crisis? The answer lies in the emotional ecosystem surrounding BTS. Their bond has always been more than musical, it is symbolic, almost sacred to fans. Any shift, even the smallest, becomes magnified. Silence becomes worry. Growth becomes suspicion. And media outlets, always eager for intrigue, transform ordinary moments into dramatic stories. In truth, Taehyung and Jungkook share a deep mutual respect, grounded in years of shared growth. Their individual journeys do not signal division, but maturation. The speculation about conflict reflects more about public expectations than their actual relationship. As the dust settles, one lesson stands out: not every quiet moment hides a crisis. Not every change means separation. What the world witnessed was not a feud, but a misunderstanding shaped by emotion and sensationalism. Taehyung and Jungkook aren't falling apart, they're evolving. And sometimes, evolution looks like distance when really, it is simply two people growing in their own ways.